So here is the dice roll program that we started working with. You can see I've got an array here of some results. It's a lot longer than what I had on the board, but it's got a lot of numbers in there, and it doesn't really matter how many. And that's what's the beauty of writing programs like this. So we talked about how if we wanted to total something, so I've created my variable int total, I would have had with a traditional variable approach added every single variable together, listed them out, and I would have to keep typing here if I wanted to get all of the items from this list and type them together. So let's focus in on instead on the pattern. I'm starting at the number 0 and I'm just going up by 1 every time. So what I want to do in those instances, I just want to get rid of all of those references to that. And let's even get rid of total over here. Let's put that somewhere else. And let's just think about how we would get a loop to step through this array one item at a time and be able to just kind of think about how do I reference every single item in order. So what I want to do is replace this number with I. Okay? It could be any letter. I can use any variable I want, but a lot of times you're going to see the letter I used for these circumstances. So I'm going to type my for loop for int I, and I'm starting at 0. So I want the first number to be 0. That means the first time through this loop, the computer is going to replace I with a 0. Okay, but I want to leave that as I because the computer is going to do that part for me. So now I say as long as I is less than, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 items. So as long as I is less than 14, because it's going to go for index numbers 0 through 13, right? If this first item here is index 0, that means the last item is going to be index 13. So this loop is going to be successful. It's going to be able to increment and update and run the loop for every number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when this gets to 14, it fails and the loop can no longer run and we move on in the program. So as long as I is less than 14, I want I to go up by 1. And now what I've done is created a little loop where the computer is just simply, okay, it's a 5, right? So the first time through the loop, it looks at dice roll 0, and then the computer is going to replace all of that with a 5. That doesn't really do a whole lot right now, right? It just sort of reads the number 5 and nothing happens. So then the computer is going to change I to a 1, and it's going to read the next one. Dice rolls 1 is a 10, and then it's going to replace all of this, and this is going to become a 10. Okay. Then I gets updated again, right? So now I went from 0 to 1 to 2. So now I is going to be a 2. So dice rolls 2 becomes a 7, right? And so we just kind of continue that pattern all the way through. So what we can do is use that in an equation of some kind. So I'm going to come up here above my for loop, and I'm going to make a variable total. Int total gets 0. And now what I want to happen every time is instead of just looking at the number, dice rolls I, I'm going to say total gets whatever used to be in total plus what's in dice rolls I. So now every time I step through this loop, the computer is going to be taking what used to be stored in total, it's going to add it with dice rolls I, and then it's going to put that new value inside of total. So total is going to update every time. And we can kind of watch this happen. First, let's just show that we can print out the result. So we're going to go down here. We're going to do a print line. That's a print ln. And we're going to say print total. Okay, so I run my program. And down here in my console, I get a total of 102. Okay. If I wanted to see the total update, I need some curly braces to have more than one line at a time. And I could print the total after every time that I've added the numbers together. So I could say print line total here. And what it's going to do now is print over and over again what the new total was every time it tried to do that. I can get rid of this command down here at the end. And I can say, let's just comment that out for a second. So now every time through the loop, it's going to add the next number in dice rolls. And then it's going to print out the new total because it has put a new number into total every time through the loop. Then it gets here and it's going to add 1 to I, and it's going to go back and do everything all over again. So when I run this program now, you can see the sequence of adding all those numbers up. 5 plus 10 is 15, plus 7 is 22, plus 11 is 33, plus 9, and so on, all the way to 102. All right, so Finding the total of these numbers isn't all that interesting. So next up, what we're going to do is actually do some counting. We're going to figure out how many times did I roll a 9? How many times did I roll an 8? So we're going to look at the count of those numbers next.